What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the group stage of PGL Astana 2026, and we're going to be doing our predictions for the playoffs of Astana as well. Tomorrow is going to be an IEM Atlanta video of doing the same thing, looking at the group stage, then looking at the playoffs. But today is all about PGL Astana, and let's go to the group stage first. So we're going to start off in the 03 category, which is going to hold K27 and Fisher College. I don't think too many people are that surprised about K27 and Fisher going 03. Maybe you could have said Magic. Maybe you could have said a couple teams. You could have said 9Z, to be honest, but I mean, we'll get to that in a second. But yeah, K27 and Fisher College going 03. Then to the 1-3s, we have Heroic, Huns, and Parivision. I think after this major, this Parivision team is going to be looking a little different. Maybe 2 players out because they probably want to keep the core. Obviously, it's going to be James and Sve, and it just depends on who didn't do as bad as a job, right? Because, I mean, when we look at it, they lose to 9Z 2-0, and 9Z obviously go 3-0. Then they win against Fisher College, and that is their only win because they lose to Aurora, which isn't too crazy. Then they lose to G2 as well. And for me, and I believe for a lot of other people, we did hold this Parivision team to a higher standard, especially since they won the first event of the year, that Blast Rivals or Blast Bounty. I don't remember which one it was. It is crazy to see this Parivision team going 1-3 and not even make it to the playoffs of PGL Astana. It's especially with Dastan as their coach, a Kazakhstan native. It's very shocking. And also this Heroic team. As I said, I do like this Heroic team. Unfortunately, they do go out 1-3. To the 2-3s, we have Gentlemates, Monty, and we have the Mongolz. I think this is the biggest upset or the biggest headline, right? Mongolz do not make PGL Astana playoffs. That is ridiculous. I mean, everybody, I feel like, loves this Mongolz team. They have insane firepower, but it's just, I don't know if it's a mentality thing. They obviously say they don't practice too much before a tournament because they go back home, they chill. But at this point, I would be ringing Senzu like, hey man, I know whatever happened, but you know, we kind of need you back. It's insane. I mean, they won against Magic, which isn't too crazy. It was a 2-0, insane barrage, but then closes that out on the Inferno. And then they go to lose to Spirit, which isn't too crazy. It's Spirit, right? One of the favorites to win this tournament. Then they win against G2, lose against Falcons, which this was an insane series. Kiyasuke and Monesi went crazy, but we'll talk about that in the Falcons category that we talk about them. And then they lose to Aurora. I would say this is probably a harder bracket for them since they had to play Falcons, Aurora, and Spirit. But again, it's just, you're the Mongolz. I feel like everybody has a high standard for the Mongolz. They are high firepower. It's about if they want to take it serious again or not, because it really feels like they don't practice that. They even say they do not practice before tournaments that much. They go back home, they have fun, maybe they play a few Face-Its, play a few pugs, whatever. But you know, at some point you got to be like, yeah, guys, we are a team. If we don't perform, we are going to get kicked. One of us, whatever, right? So it is really disappointing to see these guys go out 2-3 in PGL Astana, because especially with some of the caliber of these teams, nobody predicted 9Z going 3-0. I don't think a lot of people predicted Magic going through to the playoffs of this tournament, right? And you could have an argument with this Mouse team going 3-2. Maybe this G2 team doesn't make another playoffs. Who knows? It's insane to see this caliber of team in the Mongolz and Parivision as well with the likes of these teams. No disrespect, but when you look at the caliber of teams who made it and who didn't make it, there's obviously something wrong here. But we'll see what happens. Maybe some news will come out. We'll have to see after the major, because that's the thing. That's the whole thing. After the major is when we're going to see a lot of moves. We're going to see a lot of things happening. Maybe Senzu comes back, maybe not. Who knows? Then we go to the 3-2 category where we have Magic, G2, and Aurora. Again, it's insane. Magic is here. Nobody really knew about these guys until this tournament, and they're in the playoffs now, which is awesome. Obviously, they have AW from Parivision, and it's crazy that he made the playoffs after getting booted from Parivision, and Parivision will make the playoffs. That is very, very funny. He's probably laughing. He's probably so happy right now, but obviously more work to be done. G2 and Aurora, not too surprised about these guys making it to the playoffs. As I've said before, I do enjoy this G2 team. I wish they could get it together a little more. They're a little flippy floppy, but I'm very happy to see them in the playoffs. And Aurora, I don't think that's too surprising. If anything, I would have done Mouse for Aurora. That's how I probably would have had it, but nonetheless, they're in the playoffs, whatever. Then we go to the 3-1 category. We have Mouse, Falcons, and Furia. I don't think too many people are surprised about this. Mouse, as I said, I would put them maybe 3-2, but nonetheless, they do go through the playoffs. This Mouse team is looking very good. They look like they're having fun. I don't remember what caster said it. I think it might have been Scrawny, or I can't remember who said it, but he was just, one of them was saying just how much laughing was going. Like they were all laughing. They're all having fun after every round. Someone would say something funny and or just say something, and everyone would just smile and laugh. They were all hyping each other up, which is awesome, man. I love to see it. I think JL is a very good addition to this team. He's been doing very good. JL has been doing JL things, and it's very good to see him back in the server. And it just seems like they're all having a fun time, and they're all hyping each other up, and it seems like they're enjoying playing together. Falcons in the 3-1 category and Furia in the 3-1 category. I mean, you could have had either one of these 3-0 with Spirit, but 9Z being 3-0 is kind of crazy. They beat Parivision. They beat the Falcons, which this series 13-1 on the Dust 2 to close out the series. 13-1. DGT, the old Pain player, went 1.39 HLTV rating. That is ridiculous, especially against a team like this. That's ridiculous, man. It is very insane to see. And then they go on to beat Mouse to get that 3-0 spot. I don't think anybody is surprised about Spirit going 3-0 in here. They beat the Huns, then they beat the Mongolz, then they beat Furia to go 3-0. And that is the group stage. I am, again, very surprised, especially about these two and about this Magic team as well. So I'm very curious to see what's going to happen after the major. Maybe AW comes back. Maybe he doesn't want to. Who knows? Mongolz might make another move. I think for this M80 and this Monty team, I think they just have to curate a little more. They just have to play together a little longer, play against some better teams, play in tournaments like this that have a lot of good teams that are going to test your limits. Because as I said in the past, this M8 team and Monty, I like them. I think a lot of people enjoy watching them. They're a very underdog team, and it's very cool to see these guys progress and move through the stages of Tier 1 Counter-Strike, and I hope they can improve and stick together and just become a very good upset underdog team. And then we go into the playoffs where we have Mouse versus Aurora. Then we have Spirit versus D2, 9Z versus Magic, and then Furia versus Falcons. This is so funny to see these two play against each other in a playoffs. And again, a PGL Astana caliber of tournament. I think PGL Astana is going to probably be a good placeholder for good tournaments and good teams to play in. $1.6 million prize pool. That's huge. So it's very cool to see these two in a big tournament like this. They get to show a lot of faces. Maybe they can branch off to other teams or get other players into their teams. But again, we'll have to see after the major. But to start off, Mouse versus Aurora. Oh man, it's so hard to say because this Mouse team is so new. So will they be able to keep it up on stage in the playoffs? I know JL will. But the rest of this Mouse team, we know how this Mouse team is in playoff stage, in a tournament arena setting, and it's just going to depend on if they can withstand being in an arena with a bunch of fans. But again, I do think JL is going to be able to do that. I think he lives for a moment like these. I think with the time off that he's had, he's going to love being in an arena again, in front of fans, screaming, everything like that. I think he's going to love it. I think he's going to eat that stuff up. For the rest of them, I don't know. And the same thing for Aurora. I do not know if this Aurora team is going to be able to do what they did in the group stage. And it's going to be a fun thing to see. It's going to be a fun one to watch. I do think Mouse are going to take it in this series, but I would not argue if you think Aurora can take in the series. But I do think Mouse are just on a honeymoon stage. I think they all love playing together. It seems like they do, at least. So I do think Mouse are going to take this one. Spirit G2, I think it's just going to be Spirit, to be honest. I think Spirit are going to make it to the Sunday Grand Finals. And I have them moving on from the series. Maybe it's a 2-1. Maybe it can be a sort of close game. But I don't think this G2 team is fully ready for how this Spirit team is honestly looking. 9Z Mouse, man. Oh my! This is a coin flip, man. You can flip a coin and that's it. I want to look at who these two teams faced again. 9Z did beat Parivision, and it wasn't even close, man. And then they go on to beat the Falcons and dominated them on Dust 2 and kept it decently close on the Mirage, and it was still kind of close on the Nuke, not too close. And then beating Mouse, man. Magic lose to Mongolz, which I don't. And they kept it close on the Mirage, very close. I mean, it was, what was that, like 3 overtimes or something? I'm not good at math. I don't know. And then they go on to lose against Monty, and then they kick it in the gear, beating K27, beating Heroic, and beating Gentlemates. I'm going to go with this 9Z team just based on the teams that they beat in group stage. They definitely beat a lot higher caliber teams in the group stage than Magic. So I think I'm going to go with 9Z in this series. Falcons versus Furia. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to go with Falcons in this series. I am not high on Furia. I'm still not high on Furia, even though they did make it through 3-1. I'm still worried about these guys. I still don't know if they can return to the form that they had at the latter half of 2025. In the second half of the 2025 season, I don't know if they can return to that form. And I mean, this Falcons team is looking good. Like I said, Monasi and Kiyosuke are looking insane in this tournament. And I think that it'll probably keep up in the playoffs. So I do think Falcons are going to take this series. All right, so I guess I'm going to have to bust out the Epic Pen because I guess HLTV doesn't have a simulator for the playoffs. But I'll just do it with the Epic Pen. So M for Mouse. Sorry for my horrible handwriting, because I did say Mouse are going to beat Aurora in this series. And then we have Spirit moving on as well. And then we have 9Z moving on. And then we have Falcons moving on as well. So Mouse versus Spirit. I do think Spirit are going to make a Sunday. I am very, very curious to see how this Mouse team can do against the Spirit team, if my predictions are right here. But I do think the Spirit team is going to win. This Mouse team is just way too new to play against a team like Spirit, to be honest, especially with the caliber of team that this Spirit team has shown with the new roster and everything like that. So I do think Spirit are going to move on, but I do hope Mouse can put up somewhat of a fight. This is where it gets weird. 9Z versus Falcons. I am very sure that Falcons are going to come very much more prepared in to this series, if this series does happen, 9Z versus Falcons, and they will want to get the revenge back. But maybe 9Z are like, hey, if we could do it once, we can do it again. But I just think it's going to be a playoffs. It's going to be a very important tournament that they know they should be doing a deep playoff runs. I think if Falcons don't get a Sunday here, I'm not going to say it's disappointing, but I think even with this one change, they have the firepower to beat this 9Z team, even though they didn't before. Even though they didn't before in the group stage of this tournament, I do think that any other day, 9 times out of 10, they beat this 9Z team. I do think Falcons are going to beat 9Z and make it to the Sunday. I don't know who is going to win this, man. This is going to be a good match, and I really can't wait to see if this match does happen. I don't know why my brushes change. I don't know. I don't use this application. I don't know. It's very hard to say who's going to win this one because, I mean, you have Kerrigan as the new IGL, right? So realistically, it could be a completely different way of playing, right? Because this Falcons and this new Spirit roster with Magic as IGL, with Zontix back and everything like that, they've only played twice in IEM Rio, and Falcons won 2-0 the first time, and then Spirit won 2-0 the second time. If Kiyosuke and Monasi play like they have been playing, and if all of this happens, right? Obviously, if all of this happens, but if Monasi and Kiyosuke play like they have been playing in the group stage of this tournament throughout this whole playoffs, and especially in the grand finals, I don't see many teams beating this Falcons roster, to be honest. It all depends on who shows up on Spirit and if one other person on Falcons can show up. If Nico can show up, or if Tessus can have an insane CT side and just be a brick wall on an anchor, I would not be surprised if this Falcons team can win. But I think the Spirit roster is really starting to come into a league of its own and really start to figure out how they can play together. And especially with Satvik as their coach, they seem very much more lax, very more free, more lenient, a lot more pressure on the players, which maybe they like. It's going to be really hard to say, man. It is really going to be hard to say. To be honest, I'm going to be biased here. I'm going to say Spirit are going to win PGL Astana. I think they have a lot to prove, and I think this is their tournament to win before going to the major. Getting their one tournament win before the major to really shine and to go into the major and be like, hey, we can do this. We just beat Falcons. If we can have a good run here, and if we are on the opposite side of Vitality, we can make it to a grand finals and maybe do something crazy in the grand finals against Vitality. But that's all speculation. That's all just in my head, right? But I don't know. I think the Spirit roster is really showing something. I also think this Falcons roster is really showing a lot too. So if this does happen, I'm very excited to see these two teams face off against each other and really see what they have in store for the major, because that's really the biggest thing, right? Obviously, we have the CAC tournament, but I mean, we're all kind of just looking to the major at this point. It's not that far away at all. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know who you think will win the tournament. Let me know who your dark horse is. If any of these guys can make a run, maybe 9Z can make a run if they face off against the Falcons again. That would be crazy. Spirit versus 9Z would be ridiculous. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.